Welcome back to the 2019 Lancaster Archery Classic. It's the 16th annual, coming at you from Spooky Nook Sports in Manheim, Pennsylvania.
Are Virginia Chenier and Tatyana Muntyan. Tatyana. Virginia was 6th in the qualifier, and Tatyana was 4th. Come on up, ladies. And we've got, who was 3rd and who was 4th? You were 3rd. Did you choose left or right, Tatyana? Left, and shoot 1st or 2nd?
2nd.
Okay. She chooses to shoot 2nd. You'll shoot 1st.
Welcome to the broadcast booth. My name is Greg White. Sitting next to me is Crystal Gauvin. Crystal, welcome to the booth. You're going to be here with us for the next 2 shoot-up events. And this is your class, though. So who do we have shooting on the right? Who do we have shooting on the left?
We have Virginie from Canada on the right and Tatyana from now the USA on the left.
So interesting format here. This is the women's recurve shoot-up finals. After a 660 qualifying round into eliminations. And this a little different, a lot different for recurve in terms of this is cumulative scoring. Normally we see in recurve a set point system. As we get ready for our first shots here, Crystal, why don't you go ahead and give us a little details about the distinction between those two.
So in the set system, we have you either get 2 points, 1 point, or 0 points each end based on total score that end, and you win a match when you hit 6 points. So it doesn't matter. You can have a really bad end, you can shoot a miss, and you may lose that set end, but you can still win the match pretty easily. Unlike cumulative, where every arrow does matter and count towards your total.
And there we see a lot of shaking from Virginie, but is that normal in recurve, or do you think that's a mix of the strength it takes to pull a recurve bow back, you know, and little nerves?
Yeah, it's a little bit more than what you're going to see in compound. We saw the same thing with the youth yesterday. As people get nervous, they tend to hold a little longer, and unlike a compound where you're holding, 15 to 20 some pounds, these recurvers, these ladies are in the low 40s most likely, so that's a lot of weight to be sitting there struggling with.
Mm-hmm. 4 ends in this competition. Highest score advances to the next round. This is for a guaranteed 3rd spot, by the way. So the winner of this particular match is guaranteed 3rd, but they will shoot up and have a chance to win it all. Good shot.
Finally got stuff figured out there. I was a little surprised by her first 2 shots. She is a multi-time Olympian, world champion.
So we're all tied up. Now, normally, Crystal, recurve and compound don't shoot the same size target face, do they?
Correct. Outdoors, we have a much larger target, but we're also 20 meters further.
Yeah.
So.
This is a shorter distance than the difference between compound, which shoots 50 meter, recurve shoots 70 meter outdoors. Here we're at 18 meters. So just under 20 yards. You see the Canadian at full draw, just dealing with the shake. And that just might be the way she shoots, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she had a great qualification score. I know she struggled a little yesterday in the matches, but she did make it through, so.
Second end of the shoot-up getting ready to happen. So there was a score change there, so it's 28 to 27. Tatyana trails by a point. What we're looking at on the screen, what is that?
That's her chest guard, and you see a lot of people like to get creative with them and have little characters and things. You'll see a lot of the younger kids especially have stuffed animals and things hanging off of them, good luck charms.
And primarily, what's that for? What's that to prevent?
That's to prevent contact string clearance issues with your shirt. Obviously, recurve, the strings come in much closer into your clothing than a compound archer. So you can definitely get some left arrows if catches the string into your shirt.
And in recurve, an 8, a shot like that isn't as dramatic as it would be in a
No,
compound shoot.
no, definitely not. But
It's something we see very often.
surprisingly, in the youth, both the men and women had very few outside of the yellow. They really put on a show yesterday.
There's some unbelievable archers coming up through the ranks these days in the United States. "30 seconds on the shot clock. When the arrow impacts the target, the clock starts for the other competitor." 10-9 liner, looks good. Crystal, oftentimes people are going to wonder, why do we see the big fat arrows in compound up to, we'll call it 27 arrow, and oftentimes recurve shooters choose to shoot these smaller diameter arrows indoors as well, because there is a mix. We see larger arrows in some of the shooters, but why?
So it's really two different factors. So especially the women with the shorter draw lengths, lower poundage, it's really tough to get an arrow to spine properly. It's much different with recurve, trying to get the correct tune with your arrow. Unlike a compound that you can leave an arrow long or cut it short, with our clicker, we really have to have the right spine. So it's really tough for a lot of these females to even shoot a fatter arrow. Now the men, they can get away with it tune-wise, but a lot of them still prefer.
Good. That's what we
the
want.
fatter,
Okay,
the
I see you're shooting
smaller
a
arrows
win-and-win
because of the way
bow,
it
one of the
feels
new
coming through the
ATFs.
clicker.
A
The
Shibuya
feel is
sight.
so important in
Looks like
in
a
recurve,
custom-made aperture with
so
a,
you'll see Crispin later.
orange.
He'll be shooting his skinny arrows because he likes how that carbon, that point that he's used to all year.
Custom tab, it looks like. Fairweather tab, excuse me. It's a Simon Fairweather tab. Can we get a close-up on that? That's a beautiful Simon Fairweather tab. It uses 3 layers of kangaroo leather. Very good-looking tab from our good friend Simon Fairweather. Thank you very much. Nice shooting. I think we're ready for at the halfway point. We're looking at 58-53, with Virginia having a lead. She is shooting second, and Tatyana will lead off, shooting first.
At the halfway point of the shoot-up for the women's recurve, this is to advance to the next level. So there's 4 in this shoot-up. So the person who wins this match is guaranteed 3rd spot.
So again, much different format than we're used to. Normally, Tatyana would be down 0-4, but you know it's not a big deal. But in this case, she's down 5 points. It's a much bigger hill to climb.
Crowd ignites when she just drilled that 11. That can be a good points haul in recurve competition as well. There you go. So
That's
just a
2
2-point
points
shift. Yep.
You'll see her waiting down the clock. That's a very common thing recurve shooters will do because they want to shoot a real quick shot and not over-aim.
Thank you for that. It was the question that was coming out next. You know, is it for, just to calm the nerves or whatever, but. What a shot.
That was a great shot.
So that 2-point swing in the first arrow is now down to a 1-point swing, 4-point advantage for the Canadian. Wow.
Pretty.
Tatyana's starting to really find her rhythm now. A little bit of a bounce. She's starting to shake off those nerves. So a 30 that end out of possible 33 for Virginie.
Tatyana, looking like you're starting to relax a little.
And 32 for Tatyana.
Well, looking at things, the match is closed a bit. Looks like
So now we only have 3 points heading into this final end of the shoot-up competition.
With Virginie in the lead, Tatyana in second right now.
So Virginie at this point, you know, oftentimes, Crystal, we talk about pressure and which way pressure goes. And we also know that it can occur to people in different ways at different times. It's not like in one situation. It's going to, you know, show up as we take a look at the replay. Just a beautiful shot right there and perfect, exactly where she needed it. Get into the mind of these competitors right now. Where do you think you are if you're in the lead in terms of the pressure? Do you feel like you have it in hand, or are you trying to just protect the lead?
Really depends on the archer's mental game. I think you see people on both sides, and you know, a 3-point again is a decent lead, but in recurve that really isn't a lot when we're talking scoring that X ring as an 11. We're not used to that on the recurve side. We're used to that big 10 ring being the max points. So it's definitely easy, you know, 3 11s versus 3 10s and game over. So as we see, there's 2-point swings. Virginie goes ahead, is now only up by a point. It's a nice overhead view. A lot of recurve archers like to have a view like this set up in their house to see their alignment when they're practicing.
Oh, is that right? It's nice to see the target, too. Not something you see every day at home. She just got that shot off, by the way. You heard that buzzer? That was, if she was still at full draw when that buzzer went off, that would be a 0. Virginie with a 10.
And now 2-point lead for her going into that last final arrow.
107, 105.
So Tatyana really needs an 11 here.
Clock winding down, 10 seconds on the clock.
So 7 to tie, 8 to win.
Got it. Beautiful. So Virginie moves on. Let's go to Rob.
Tatyana, nice shooting. You take 4th place and $500. Congratulations. Thank you. Well, Chuck, that was an amazing match. Virginia looks like she's just having fun and nice and relaxed, shooting good, strong shots. Let's see who our next competitor is. It is Gabriela Bayardo from the Netherlands. Gabby, do you choose to shoot left or right? Left stage? Okay.
So Bayardo now comes to the stage, our 2nd place qualifier. So now what we're doing in this shoot up, if you're new to this format, is that's exactly what it is. We just keep shooting up the ladder. So as you win, you just keep advancing, and we're going to see that in a more dramatic fashion in some later shoot ups because they're 8 deep in the Open Pro and the Men's Open. One of the rule changes this year too, because of some of the things that we've seen in some of the other classes, was a requirement that each archer had to have 6 arrows if they were going to be in the shoot up. And the reason for that is the pacing. There were archers that showed up with 3 arrows. They would have to shoot them, pull them, walk them all the way around the stage and hand them back to them. So it's very different though when you get to the, Crystal, you've been in this situation as you know, former #2 compound shooter in the world. How much different is it when you don't actually have to walk down to the target and you don't have to score? Does it make you feel special?
It's pretty nice, but it means the match goes so much quicker that, a blink of an eye and the match is over. I always found I walked out just saying, what just happened? Nice shot.
Gabby, no stranger to the pressure of these situations.
Nope, she's shot here in the Classic before on this final stage, and more recently in the Indoor World Series. She's been in some finals matches as well with her trusty coach, Mike Schlosser, behind her.
Yeah, Mike in the coach's box today. Mike, ultimately our #1 qualifier, heading into the Open Pro later on today.
Great shooting
There's
by
a good look
Gabby.
at Mike. I don't think he's coaching much. He just kind of gave her the head nod, like, hey, good shot.
Surprisingly, Mike's pretty good with the recurve himself, so. You could tell she kind of let the bow arm swing on that. She wasn't happy with probably where the sight pin was when she was pulling through the clicker.
And again, can't emphasize enough, Crystal Govan sitting next to me, who's former compound, now recurve shooter. Actually, you shoot both still, you enjoy it. But the distinction of set scoring, if we were in a set scoring system, if you're Virginie, you're just going like, okay,
no big deal.
fine, no big deal.
Yep.
Next time I'm going to, but with now the points that are available, you're talking about a 4-point swing in this one, Crystal. So it's
Huge.
something now to be thinking about in a totally different mindset as a recurve archer. Very interesting.
Yeah, Gabby's feeling pretty good after this first end. That's a nice lead to have after just 3 arrows, and she knows that.
So Virginie and listen, this is what the Lancaster Archery Classic has now turned into. It's an international affair in 16 short years, going from, just a $5,000 purse for compound just to give back to the community to now multiple classes and all kinds of incredible athletes flying in from all over the world. As we take a look here, what are you seeing?
Just beautiful shot. And what I noticed is both of these archers are using the Fairweather tab, which I recently switched to this fall, and what a great tab. A lot of people don't know, but the leather is super important in how the bow tunes, how the string comes off your fingers. And that Fairweather tab uses kangaroo leather, which is actually waterproof. So if you're a field shooter or doing a lot of outdoor shooting, huge advantage for you.
The beginning of end number 2 of 4. 18 meters the distance to the target, 40 centimeter target face. Smallest ring you see in the middle is worth 11, then
There's
10.
a nice close-up of that tab.
Yeah. Being a former motorcycle racer myself, road racer, we have leather suits. Kangaroo is definitely one of the preferred. Not only is it waterproof like you're saying, but the tensile strength is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 4 times that of cowhide. So the longevity of that tab would be, I would imagine, going to last a lot longer as well.
The thing I loved about it is most tabs take a really long time to shoot in, so it's really hard to have a backup tab that's on par with your primary tab. And in this tab, 8 shots and it's shot in. Unbelievable. Nice close-up of those custom-made wraps on her arrows.
With a 3-point lead, Gabby Bayardo drills one. That release looked a little awkward, didn't it?
Yes, yeah, she didn't come back. It was a little bit of a collapse, and you see the arrow going off to the right.
Chuck, as you see in recurve archery, it's not the 11, 11, 11. It's somebody just misses
So as the judges will take a look at the target and confirm the actual score, if you're watching this for the first time in archery, it's as long as you're touching the line, you get the higher point value.
maybe hitting a 8 or a 9, not a huge deal. It seems to close right back up. That's the exciting part of this. That's why I really enjoy the recurve aspect, because a miss isn't necessarily a deadly event.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. Tomatoes can be overcome. Okay. You choose to continue shooting first? Okay, very good. At the halfway point, 61-55.
Tomatoes is slang for the red area. Going swimming is slang for the blue area. There's all kinds of stuff you need to entertain yourself in archery.
Oh. That was a quick shot for Gabby, so that was great to see that land in the 11 ring for her. I think a little sigh of relief. Clicker probably went off a little fast on her. This women's recurve division is one of the biggest growing divisions over the last couple of years, and I think a lot of that has to do with this unique format. People really like that 11 ring comes into play for recurve, adds a new element.
Yeah, I believe I heard over double the entries from last year in the class.
Not sure from last year, but over the last couple years, we've grown like 300% or something. And
yeah.
Rob actually added our cut to 16 instead of 8 this year. As a shout out to us for growing the class so much.
So 11.99 gives Gabby Bayardo a 29 for this end. An 11 here would tie that. Dropped it short. So now the score is 90-82 before the official.
With an 8-point lead going into the final end, Gabby's really just going to be on cruise control.
Once again, this is that second shoot. So whoever's the loser of this match is guaranteed third place, and the winner will advance to shoot our #1 qualifier,
so
which
the
is
loser's guaranteed third.
Third place.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
third place.
Okay.
Right. So then the winner's going to go to our #1 qualifier, a familiar 14-year-old. If you're following recurve, women's recurve in the United States, Casey Kaufold is our #1 qualifier.
Took me out in the match prior to this.
It's hard to hit on a 14-year-old, isn't it? Though?
No, I love Casey. I love shooting against her. She's a great competitor and works really hard.
And always with a big smile on her face.
Definitely.
And a great ambassador for the sport
Yep.
for all ages, which is really incredible. Ouch.
So pretty much game over at this point. She's really fighting the clicker, and you saw that.
Tell us when you say fighting the clicker, what does that really mean?
That means most likely she's seeing a lot of movement in her sight, and your brain doesn't want to pull through when it's seeing all that movement, so you kind of stop and pause, and then you get hung up right at that clicker where you need to be releasing the arrow.
She knew she just had to throw that one down range.
Yep.
So this match is over.
So she's going to be disappointed, but at the end of the day, that arrow really didn't matter, even if it was an 11.
You take home third place, $1,000 for your weekend. Congratulations, Virginia from Montreal, Canada. Any words for the folks? Where will you be shooting next?
We have a national training camp in Florida next month, so that will be the next thing. And then our national indoor championship in March.
Very good. Let's give Virginia a hand. Congratulations.
So she's getting out of Canada, going to Florida
Gabby,
to
can you
shoot
step on
outdoors.
down?
Not too bad.
Gabby, your next opponent, I think you've gotten to know well, and I know Casey has he considers you a friend. You know, of course, you become friends with your competitors over time, and you've proven to be a good friend. And you know, but when you're in the heat of the battle, you know, describe to people your attitude then.
Well, it's really cool that you get to know more people while you're shooting. And I think that this is the second time that we shoot against each other this season. And I hope it's really good for both of us.
I'm sure that both of you will shoot very well. You've both been shooting great indoors this winter. All right. Okay, Casey. Casey Kaufold is our next competitor. Casey, do you choose to shoot left or right? Left, and first or second? First. Casey will shoot from the left, and she will shoot first.
So here we go, 14 years old.
So this is
Our
a
number one qualifier.
and a rematch from 2 years ago here at the LAS Classic.
What's the goal for you today?
Heather File, please, everyone.
So
Please give Heather File a big hand. She's the director of she's also Casey's coach. And
Casey's just saying, Dad, be quiet, I just want to shoot.
yeah, right. So Dad's on the microphone right now, just talking to her coach in the coach's box.
what's going on here and make this event happen. So please give Carol and Heather a hand. Thank you. Okay, let's get this match started.
So here we go. Our number one qualifier will start off. Her clock, it looks like a little just miscue on the clock.
Like Gabby's clock started instead of Casey's.
So they're gonna switch that over. There we go. You can see that middle left part of your screen. That's experience right there from Casey.
Mm-hmm.
You can already see
Definitely.
how many arrows she's flung in competition.
Solid opening shot.
Yeah, especially for being just arrive on stage. But like Rob said, he likes to get his youth shooters up on stage during practice to give them the experience of shooting in this type of situation. You just get the feeling this is going to be a boxing match all the way to the end.
And what I saw yesterday and what I've seen in World Archery is Casey just gets stronger throughout the match. So even if her first end is a little rough, she just gets tighter and tighter in those groups as the match goes on. So Gabby's going to hope to capitalize on that 8 by Casey here.
Good shot. An 11-10 liner. So it could be a 2-point swing after we have judges take a look at it. How weird must it be being on the stage? You know, this is streaming around the world. You know, here you are. Let's go to Rob, and he already has to say, interviewing his daughter.
Biter clicker on it, biter plunger, Conquest Smackdown rods, some limb savers to help on the limbs, and a custom finger tab, and Carbon Express SST Nano arrows. And so we'll take a look at where the scores are. It looks like it's 29-27, so a 2-point lead for Gabriela. Gabriela chooses to shoot first.
And you notice there they zoomed in the camera on Casey's quiver and you saw those pins, and that's gold, silver, and Olympian pins from USA Archery, which means she has shot qualifying scores above certain levels. So she's hit the highest level possible with that gold Olympian pin.
Great shot by Gabby.
Now these two archers face each other for gold. I believe it was at the Rome Indoor World Series. And Casey took that one, so I know Gabby's gonna want some payback here.
Had a chance there to get some points back.
Ten.
30 points apiece, so we'll keep the gap to 2.
Okay. All right, at the halfway point, Chuck, describe what you're seeing here.
This is really incredible. I mean, to watch these two, I watched them earlier this year, head to head. Of course, they've both been on this stage before, and now to see it be so tight, so close, really exciting.
1 point match. Gabriela has a 2 points. I need my glasses fixed. 59-57, so still a 2-point lead for Gabriela. Gabriela will shoot first or second?
Good look at the replay of Casey Kaufold and her final arrow, that end. Reflection or disappointment in that face?
I think she was a little disappointed. The shot was not quite as clean as used to seeing from her on the release.
That's live action.
That was much better.
Looking at Casey's face too, I noticed that one of her eyes is almost completely closed. Why?
So, again, just like compound archers, you know, looking through the peep, we're looking at the string, and so, you know, some people, depending on how dominant one eye is over the other, may need to close that eye to get a crisper view, be able to see properly their pin on the target. See, Gabby does a very similar thing.
Yeah. I can see Gabby's eye open just slightly, and I'm not sure if Casey's is or not. It might be a bit of a shadow. What do you think?
I think it's a hair open.
Hair open, yeah.
9. 10. All balls. See the level of
Do you think it's any advantage by Gabby to have that first round and be warm, you know, get a little bit more comfortable on the stage?
Definitely, and not so much comfort level for these archers, but being out here in the lighting, because again, with recurve, our string, being able to see that's crucial, and so depending on lighting conditions can vary, you know, how you see your string against the riser. Is it blurry, is it clear, and getting that sighted in on that first match is huge.
Now for recurve archery, especially shooting with these little arrows, does shadow on the target matter? I know that the crew here at Lancaster worked really hard to make sure that the lighting was proper. As you can see, the shadow drifts off to the left on the left target, off to the right, as opposed to straight up and down. Is that something that you ever looked at as compound or recurve shooter? As if you're shooting top to bottom, does the shadow ever bother you?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I've always shot, and I've taught my students to shoot from the bottom to the top, and you never have to worry about shadows or angling issues with the lighting.
And in this competition, you label your targets, meaning if you shoot bottom top, it's 1, 2, 3. And that's part of how they do tiebreakers here in qualification rounds.
Yeah, so your first dropped arrow is going to lose you a tiebreaker if it's sooner than your opponent's. Now, one thing you'll notice, Gabby has a slightly unique form in that the string doesn't come all the way back and touch her nose, so she's actually losing a point of contact, which means it's much harder to be consistent.
So the weights on the end of the stabilizer rods on Casey's Hoyt, distinct for every single archer.
Just like compound, you're going to see varying amounts of weights. The Americans definitely tend to run more weight on their stabilizers, recurve Americans, than their Korean counterparts.
28 points in that end for Casey Kaufold. Gabi Bayardo with 30. And
Great
there it
shooting,
is,
ladies.
118 to 114
Okay, let's
points.
see how the scores come out here. looks like we've got 118, 114 with Gabriela taking the match. Casey, you'll take home second place and $1,500. Same place as last year for you, second. The payday is a little better this year. And so congratulations to you. Have you had fun up here today?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Casey.
The best way to handle
Gabriela,
her dad.
Yep.
100%.
You've done it. Our 2019 Women's Recurve Champion. $3,000 for your weekend's work. Congratulations.
I told you I was coming for revenge.
I told you.
Yeah.
It was great after that match. She turned around and she looked at Mike like, "Is that the end? Did I? That was it, right?"
These matches when you're in the middle of
So that's it, Crystal, right? Going
Yeah.
for a little bit of revenge, of course. I
And
mean,
what
look,
I wanna
people are
point-
friendly in this sport, but it is a sport.
Definitely.
Competition is fierce.
And
All right, well, that's it for our women's recurve. Hang tight after this break. When we come back, we're going to get the men's recurve going. Crystal Govan continues to hang out with me as we look forward to another match here at the 2019 Lancaster Archery Classic.
Vince Lombardi once said, winning is not a sometime thing. It's an all-time thing. You don't do things right once in a while. You do them right all the time. Winning is a habit. Unfortunately, so is losing. I've learned in my career I'm only as good as the tools I use.
12 for Levi Morgan.
One chance, one moment, one shot.
We don't build these bows to be different. We build them to be better. We're the outsiders, the mavericks, the fearless. We forge our own path. We're not chasing anyone, but we know what they're running from. It's an obsession, and the obsessed never rest.